the legendary Fort Plastic has finally fallen to the Greens and the Blues. Barr and Creed are currently talking with Sergeant Violet, the leader of the Purples. "Well, we must admit," said Barr, "you really pulled through there, Violet. You got a lot of our men down, and while we don't necessarily see eye to eye, we have to applaud you. A Purple's actions are resolute. It's what we're here for. It's what we trained for." "Right," Creed said. "Well, Violet, we don't really see much value in you as a prisoner. You're a self-appointed sergeant, a hero of a battle that you lost. There's no real value to you here. That's kind of you to say." So, what I want you to go ahead and do is skedaddle on back to the Tans and Purples. Tell them what you saw here. Tell them the might of the Greens and the Blues. Tell them that there's a storm coming. They better prepare." Violet didn't waste time waiting for them to change their mind. Instead, he took off like they said to. "Now why did you do that?" Barr said. "They're gonna go and tell him that we lost a ton of men in this fight. Let him talk to his people. I want them to feel scared. I want them to know that we won this battle. We trounced them even with their Tan reinforcements. I want them to feel like their backs are to the walls." "Well, Creed, I hate to tell you, but our backs might be to the walls. We can't lose another round of troops like that. We'll be completely out of territory in months." "Don't worry about it. Plus, what are they gonna do? Attack this fort again? They've seen it in action. They've held it themselves. It's near impossible to siege. We'll get our reinforcements in here, and we won't think back on this another second. We'll take time, replenish, all will be well." "I hope so. That reinforcement column needs to arrive quick." Sergeant Violet did not go back to his base. Instead, he met with a forward outpost commander. "Commander Tufton, I'm Sergeant Violet. I was put in charge of the last remaining men in our fortress. But it's over. The Greens and Blues have taken it. Now they don't have reinforcements just yet. I'd like to take the Purple Horde under my command and launch an invasion." "Violet, the Horde is not mobilized. We are not prepared for this level of warfare. We were just taking on the Blues. Now I've heard the Tans and the Reds are involved. This is all-out warfare here. We cannot assemble the Horde this quickly. Sir, if we want the base back, we need to strike now before reinforcements get there." "Well, which route are the reinforcements taking?" "The southern hills would make the most sense." "Why?" "I have a small battalion under my command. I want you to take them. Go and engage their reinforcements. Prevent them from resupplying the fortress. We could starve it out instead of taking it manually." "I like your thinking, sir." "Roger, roger." What's going on, gamers? It's your boy Daily Tactics here, and today we're back with another episode of Army Men the Unifying War. Right now, each side is pretty much pushing the limits of their military. Losses have been high for absolutely everybody, and I think I'm going to post a power ranking to the community tab after this video is done on the strongest remaining factions and the weakest remaining factions, so look out for that. But today, the fortress has been taken by the Greens and Blues, but they've depleted their troops by a significant amount, so they need to bring in their reinforcements. The Green supply line is seriously stretched, so this is pretty much all they have left. And the Blues, well, they don't have a lot of manpower to begin with, but they're bringing in some of their brand new technologically advanced Comet tanks here, so that is a pretty valuable resource. These troops are going in to man the fortress. So, if they make it through the purple ambush, then the fortress will be resupplied. If they do not make it through the ambush, then the Greens and Blues will have an extremely weak fortress, and it'll give enough time for the Purple Horde to actually assemble and go towards the fortress, retaking it. This is going to be a very pivotal battle for both sides. It is very important. So, if you guys enjoy, please be sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and comment down below. Let's get into it. What's up, gamers? I'm here to tell you about Instant Gaming. Instant Gaming is an amazing place where you can get some fire deals on all sorts of video games. Seriously, it's like 60 to 95% off, as you can see here. These are all of the Star Wars titles they have. They literally have every Star Wars title. You can also get XCOM here, Men of War Assault Squad 2, all of the games I play on the channel you can buy here for extremely cheap prices. If you use my affiliate link in the description, it helps me out a ton. So thank you guys for listening to this sponsorship, and thank you to Instant Gaming for continuing to sponsor the channel. Alrighty then, gamers, the purples have come out of their cover and are doing their ambush now, and as soon as we press start, they'll start firing into the greens and blues, who are going to be pushing forward. Already huge shots going into some of these blue tanks, the newfangled comets that are entering the battlefield. The purples are just unloading lead into the green and blue infantry here, wiping out large swaths of them very, very quickly. Greens and blues are trying to respond by getting their guns up and trying to identify some of the targets that are coming after them. Obviously, this is easier said than done when you're getting ambushed and all of a sudden hell is breaking loose all around you in absolute brutality. So the greens and blues right now getting caught completely by surprise and having a great deal of difficulty taking care of some of these purple soldiers that are looming above them and firing down into them. Mass casualties for the greens and blues to start. It's more about if they can hold on to this battle and manage to make a comeback here and take back some of their forces, push against the purples, and manage to get the W at the end of the day. That's what this is more about, is survival and keeping the supply line intact, because at the end of this thing, again, this is a very important battle. If the greens and blues end up losing this, then they will no longer have supply lines to reach the fortress. The fortress will then be encircled by the purples, and it could just be starved out. On top of that, the purples, tans, and reds would then be free to go and move against some of the green and blue fortifications out there. And that could be where the real deadly portions of this war end up coming into play, and where we see the greens and blues start to completely falter. And this is kind of a last hoorah battle here for the greens. The greens at this point in time really don't have that many soldiers fit for battle, and that's a big problem. Yes, they have soldiers. They have the largest manpower in pretty much any of the plastic nations, but they're like the Soviet Union in World War II. If they end up using up all of their manpower and their guns, then they're gonna have no more trained soldiers. What good is a soldier if he is not able to be trained and if he doesn't have a weapon in his hand? And I made the choice to go ahead and give the greens pretty much the worst weapons they could have. M16A4s, which are okay, not amazing, and Springfield snipers, as well as a few SMGs and bazookas. That's it. They don't have any of the good technology because they can't afford it, and they've already used up all of the ones they could afford. They don't have M60s, they don't have the G3s, they don't have any of the really good weapons that some of the purples are fielding on the battlefield right now. So the greens essentially are rushing forward the last of their resources, not just in terms of men here, because they do have more men back home. They are the largest population, but in terms of weaponry, in terms of food supplies, in terms of fuel, all the things that you need to make an army run. So if the greens lose this, they are going to be really, really in a bad place for the next few battles. Meanwhile, the purples, if they win this, they can go ahead and buy themselves some time to bring the horde forward. If they bring the horde forward, they are in a very good place. If the greens and blues win this, then they can push the purples into their territory further and start taking out more of them before the horde is able to really get supplied and assembled. So that is the current standings of this thing. I will say the blues, on the other hand, are still a very, very strong faction. While they have certainly taken some losses in the last few battles, they're still doing quite well. They're not getting exterminated or anything like that. They've actually fielded very few units, if you think about it. They fielded some, but not to the extent the greens have. Really, the most they've supplied is a little bit of artillery and a little bit of tank power. They have not fully committed to this war, I would say, just yet. So the blues will still be okay. At the moment, the tans are a little bit weakened. The purples, depending on this outcome, could be very weakened. The greens are very weakened already and are kind of in survival mode at this point, and this is kind of a gamble of a push forward with reinforcements. It wasn't even a gamble. They did not expect to be ambushed like this, so this is very ruinous for them, of course. And the Reds are probably the strongest faction at this point because they've been fairly uninvolved since battle number 1, and that's a very Red thing to do. The Reds are all about choosing their engagements, using their manpower when they see it fit, because it is very low manpower but extremely strong soldiers. Think about like the Spartans. The Reds are essentially the Spartans of the Army Men world. So at the moment during this battle, if you look at the top left of the battlefield at the minimap, you can see that the Reds are actually the greens and blues in terms of those little dots. And the blues are actually the purples of those little dots. And the purples at the moment are still holding the town center right here. They're doing a pretty good job of that. They've also got good lines over here at the bridgehead where they really initiated the ambush. And then a little bit of soldiers at the very back lines here. This blue tank is technically still alive and we can do the repair rule. However, the purples are right on top of it. They would kill any soldier that got out of this thing. And so I don't want to do that just yet. We're hoping that those purples will die. And then the greens and blues still have very solid troop presence on the main road right here, including a blue tank fully functioning. That's a pretty big thing for them to have. And then they have good presence over here as well, where there's just one more purple that they need to kill, and then they can focus on the purples on the other sides of things. So at the moment, it's a fairly even battle, I would say. Both sides definitely have their strengths and weaknesses currently, but I will say that the purples having sort of the defender's advantage now, that's pretty big. That is going to be pretty big for them. So let's go ahead and bump it up to normal speed here as the greens and blues continue to fire into the center area of the town here and try and knock out a few more of these purples who are just in basically the firefight of their lives right now. A very important firefight. If Sergeant Violet can manage to pull this off with these forces, that would be pretty huge for them. And please remember that the greens and blues fielded 3 times as many soldiers in this battle as the purples, including vehicles. The purples had no vehicles during this thing, and so that's really the power of an ambush in this case. This blue tank is pushing wholeheartedly in here. It's trying to use its machine gun, it looks like, to try and take out some of these purples ahead, and it is actually doing it. It's getting a few kills here and there with that machine gun. It's going to rotate its turret here too and hopefully get some AG shots off, but at the moment bazookas and Piats are firing into this thing, which is not very good. It's taking out some serious purples over this way. This is good. This is actually very, very good for the blues and greens. If they can continue to nail a few of these guys and then bring some infantry in as well, that would be huge. It did just get hit by another rocket, though. Did it go down? It did go down. No! That's so unlucky. It did get 17 kills at the end there, so it certainly weakened the purple position over this way considerably. Pretty much halved it, which is pretty good. These 3 purples over here, by the way, are being nutty. 15 kills for the bazooka man, none for this guy, 8 for the effing foul trooper. That's pretty impressive. And then over this way, this one purple soldier is distracting the entirety of the green and blue army over here. He's got 3 kills. It looks like he's used all of his grenades. Make that 4 kills right there. This man is just standing proud at his station. He don't give a shoot. He don't give a dug dim a darn. He is just going to hold this position until the day he dies, which is right now because he just got absolutely domed. Holy cow. These purples over here definitely been weakened, but they managed to hold their position here very, very nicely. The greens and blues on the outside right now are sort of tangoing with them. A few of the purples are coming forward to try and push the advantage now that they've got it, which isn't a bad idea. It can kind of take the other troops by surprise a little bit, and it seems like it did get a few kills, so it was definitely a warranted push right there. Did this blue tank do anything? No, it's dead now. That was kind of expected. I couldn't even repair it because, quite frankly, these purples would have just shot it down. So, yeah, it was worth keeping the tank crewmen in there. A couple purples trying to push, and they get slaughtered right there. Greens and blues are still in this thing. Their strongest force is over this way right now, where they're starting to push the bridge a little bit more at the moment. If they could take the bridge, that would be pretty huge, but I'm thinking right now that the reinforcements of the greens and blues are likely to lose this, and their grand follow-up to capturing the fortress in the desert is going to be a big fat L and will essentially negate that fortress's advantage. Yes, the fortress will still be alive, the fortress will be able to defend, but it can just be starved out or slowly whittled down by artillery fire, things like that, while the purples and the rest of the troops, you know, just ignore that little army in the fortress and go for the green and blues home base. And I think that's probably what's going to happen in the next episode, is that the greens and blues are going to find themselves on the defensive. Perhaps one of their home fortresses, towns, or cities will end up being under siege by the purple, tans, and reds, who can now finally take the advantage. Massive explosions over here as the green convoy gets blown to smithereens. All of these weapons will be up for grabs by the purple horde, probably mobilizing them faster because they're going to be able to steal these weapons from the greens and blues. And of course, to the greens and blues, these are fairly valuable because the greens are vastly undersupplied. I don't know why this green soldier isn't turning to kill the purple here, but he's, there we go. All right, purple gets got. Purple gets shot, purple gets got. That's a lot. So pretty substantial force still alive over in this little nook here. Couple soldiers over here still fighting away, but for the most part, I think this is going to be a purple W. 5 kills, 1 kill. That's not too bad of numbers right there. This guy's got none. This guy's got 1. This troop's got none. This troop's got none. This troop's got none. 1, 1, none, none. 3. That's pretty good. None. 2, 1. Okay, some kills for these guys. Not really enough to get them any veterancy or anything like that. They're tangoing with the bridge boys across the way now, and it looks like they are getting picked off one by one. This is certainly going to be a purple W, I'm thinking, at the end of the day here. This sniper could potentially do some work for him, but he is currently under fire from, I think, the purple snipers on the battlefield, so that's not going to work too well for this bloke. He is certainly having a hard time, having to lay down next to the bodies of his allies and friends. It's gruesome out here. Pretty cool little picture right there. Probably won't use it for the thumbnail, but it's still cool. It's still very, very cool. I'm gonna probably do some sort of ambush thumbnail. You know, it's a little bit more fun to do. All right, well, let's go ahead and time lapse here because I think the greens and blues over this way are just gonna die out. Well, boys, it looks like at the end of that time lapse, there's literally 1 green soldier left. Let's try to get him a kill. Okay, all right, he's already getting shot at. You know what? I think the best place to get him a kill would be over this way. God, it's so hard to control this in Men of War Assault Squad 2. I'm used to Gates of Hell. All right, you know what? There's no area where we can go where we're not going to get shot at without additional support, and we got killed. Okay, I was trying to go for these guys. Rip potato chip. The purples win. They didn't win by too much. They've got like 20 troops over here, another like 15 over here, and another like 20 over here, I'd say. So, okay, they did win by a decent amount. They were outnumbered about 3-1, so very impressive W right here. That's what you get during ambush battles, though. Absolutely incredible. So the purples win this thing. I want you guys to comment down below what you guys think should happen in the next episode. No matter what, the greens are going to be on the defensive next time around, that's for sure. The greens and blues will need to be pushed back, whether it's defending a city, a fort, something. We're not going to go back to the last fortress. That one, I think the purples are going to try and starve out for a while before assaulting to make them very weak. But we'll start the onslaught of the green and blue homeland here and put them on the defensive because they've lost so much now. It's their only tactic. All right, guys, I'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching. Peace.
I hope you guys enjoyed that video. Be sure to click that subscribe button for more content and hit the notification bell if you'd like to be alerted to whenever I live stream or upload. Thanks so much.